I do have people wanting to be able to hear your questions, so do we have this answered now?
It should be, everything should be
Or I can
in
repeat the
place.
questions if we
They
need to
can,
do
they
that.
can hear them on my mic picks them up.
And you guys,
So
they
you're
just
doing it
announced
right,
that, so
the
you're
rest
free-
of them are.
You're free to announce games.
Finally, I got something right.
6:30 at the
Ready? Everybody? Welcome everybody. Really proud of our guys, and proud of the coaches. They've played a hard schedule to this point. They've played hard every week and they've coached hard every week. We've got a lot of things we need to fix. We haven't done everything perfect for sure, but the energy and the attitude's been there for 5 straight games, and I'm really, really proud of that. We've talked about the additions of Ted Monachino and Clyde Christensen. They've really helped us. They obviously are limited in what they can do. Like Clyde shows Chip what he likes about different things, and Chip does it with Drake, and Clyde can sit and watch a video and help us, and same with Ted. So I hope the NCAA changes so people can use guys like that on the field. But it's really been a help to us. But defensive line's playing better. I give a lot of credit to Tim Cross. A lot of people had questioned him, and those guys have stepped up. I was so proud of KJ Binkley Jones. He played, Kendrick played really, really well on Saturday and played more plays than he's played. Travis Shaw played a lot more plays than he's played and played well. So that was fun to watch those guys getting better. 12th in both polls. Again, we've only talked about the polls because that's going to start mattering in the future, depending on what they do with the college football playoff. Are they going to have a conference champ have an automatic bid, or are they not? Is it just going to be the top 12? What's it going to be? But polls after the college football playoff polls come out will be more important in the future than they've been in the past, just because of playoff implications. And for so long, we've had 4 teams that can get in the playoffs. And when you start talking about 12, that's going to change. And it's going to change a lot of different dynamics about, are you going to need to score more? How do you get up in the polls? I mean, it's going to really change. You can't have a flat day. If you do, you drop out. If you're 14 instead of 12, you're not in the playoffs. It's going to be that big an implication moving forward. And a couple of weeks ago, there were 21 Power 5 teams out of 65 that were undefeated. And then there were 15, now there's 11. So each week, it gets tougher. It gets tougher to see who can survive and who can move forward in that group. And I'm glad we're part of it. So being 5-0 for the first time since 1997, I looked it up. We were 8-0 in 1997 and then lost to Florida State, 20-3. So I've told this team, you got to keep moving forward to do something better than the team in 97 did. 4th time in 133 years that we'll play in Kenan Stadium with a ranked team at 5-0. So that's really cool. Hadn't happened very often, so I'm proud of these guys. Offensive player of the game was Drake May. 33 of 47, 442 yards, 3 touchdowns. 55 yards rushing and a touchdown, 3 touchdown passes and 1 rushing. So 497 total yards, 4th most in UNC history. So very, very proud of Drake. He had a great day. Very proud of this young man. Just mentioned him, defensive player of the game, Miles Murphy, 5 tackles, a tackle for a loss and a pressure. He dominated the line of scrimmage, and really, really proud of him stepping up, especially with Kevin Hester hurt. It put us in a position where somebody else needed to step up, and he stepped up and did a great job. And as I said, Kendrick Binkley Jones did, as well as Tamari Fox. Those guys all played well, so I'm proud of them. And then 4 for 4 with Noah Burnett with our field goals, the long one of 35. He was one of the special teams players of the week, but also Liam Boyd, 9 out of 9 on touchbacks. And that's something we missed when Ryan Coe got hurt, and we kicked the short one, a couple of short ones at Pittsburgh. And the weather might have been a little factor there, but he was 9 for 9 on Saturday, and there was some wind. There was 9-10-mile-an-hour winds for 2 of those quarters. So offensively, 644 yards, over 400 passing and 200 rushing. And Drake has thrown for a few more yards this year than he did this time last year. And it's been against tougher competition. So very proud of him. And then you start looking at, we had great balance. There were 48 runs and 49 passes with 97 plays that we ran offensively. And with the clock running, it is hard to run 97 plays. So that's a whole lot of plays, more than it would have been in the past with a slower clock. Offensive line played well, they protected well, and we ran the ball well. So good for them. It helped us that Willie Lampkin was back. He did a good job up front. We had time of possession with 37 minutes and 16 seconds to 22:44. We said at halftime we had 59 plays, they had 22. It's hard to move the ball when you got 22, but part of that is your defense getting them off the field. And that's why you have to play complementary football when you're winning games. We created 14 explosive plays and only gave up 3. So we wanted to throw the ball down the field more, and we did. And we're successful doing it. 2 out of 7 in the red zone with touchdowns. That was the biggest concern. We had penalties, we had a fumble. We've been doing so well in the red zone, and if there was a thing offensively that we didn't do, we did not do a good job of capitalizing on red zone opportunities. And we didn't, we forced turnovers and didn't score off the turnovers. So those are 2 things that offensively we could have done better, that we have been doing better, and we can't fumble the quarterback center exchange on 3rd down and 6 inches. That's just something we've got to work on to keep getting better. Defense, we've given up 20 points, I guess, and is that what it is, Jeremy? 20 points in the second half versus the 4 Power 5 opponents. So that's really good. Been making tremendous adjustments at halftime. In fact, Jeremy gave me this stat. Gene Chizik is 33-8 as the defensive coordinator here in the regular season. He's 21-5 in the ACC. So he's done a tremendous job since he's been here, and so proud of the changing the narrative and turning around what was not a good defense last year, and fixing it in all areas to this point. When you start playing a lot of people on defense, which we are, and you have a lot of depth, you only play 51 plays on defense. Guys are playing 20, 25 plays a game. So you're less likely to be hurt. You're less likely to be flat the next week because you're fresh. And that's helped us as well. Gave up 200, is probably the best defensive performance since I've been back. Gave up 221 total yards, 92 yards rushing. Allowed only 11 first downs, which is the fewest in the last 11 years. Needed to contain the quarterback, and he had -7 yards rushing on scrambles. And we knew he would be the difference in the ball game, and that's something we haven't done very well. Forced a couple of turnovers, held them to 3 explosive plays, and those could have been prevented. Dominant first half. Drake had 23 completions. They had 22 plays offensively. So that's something that we can be really, really proud of. Hate that we gave up the score coming out of the halftime at the start of the 3rd quarter. There was a 3rd and 14, and we didn't make the play. And then gave them a couple of explosives there, and that was not the time to come out of a situation and let them score. So they won the middle 10, 7-3. Special teams, we were really good in kicking the ball with our field goals and kickoffs. We said that. All touchbacks, another block punt, which we've got a deficiency there we've got to fix. Ben made a tremendous play to get a first down, catch the ball, run, and get the first down after the block punt, but we can't have block punts. Usually if you have a block punt, you lose a game, and we've won 2 games with block punts the last 2 weeks. So it's something that we've got to, we addressed it and we didn't fix it. We've got to fix it. It's been a problem with our shield. It's a one-person problem, and we got to fix it. And it was a different person in Pittsburgh than it was the other day. So that's an area that we've got to do better. Mario Cristobal's done a good job at Miami. They've completely turned around who they were from last year. They're a top 25 team. They're the most talented team that we've played to this point. They've got speed all over the place, and we'll have our hands full this weekend. Question marks?
Last year, you talked a lot about the team needing to take that extra step to be a championship-style team. From what you've seen so far, has that team done that? It seems like you're running the ball a lot better. The defense is clearly playing a lot better. The first 5 games, you have 3 times that they've allowed less than 20 points.
Yes, when you play better defense, you can have more room for error on offense. We haven't had that. We've had to outscore everybody when we've played them. So, but also our offense is doing a better job of playing complementary football with our defense and running the ball better and keeping the ball. So keeping them more rested, and we've played better with sudden change. So I do think that these guys, if they continue to practice on Tuesday like it's a game, and then Wednesday, and build up to Thursday, and get ready to play every week, we have a chance. And that's this game. 3 of the 4 years have come down to the last drive. So this has been a great game, a very competitive game against 2 talented teams. So it's going to be fun to watch them Saturday night and see if we can keep going. Because there was so much hype about Miami last week, I wondered if we would play as good, and we were ready to play. They played hard. We didn't play quite as good the second half offensively, but it was in the red zone. We still moved the ball. We still had a lot of attention to detail, and we've gone back to the same attitude. We've told our coaches, grade this one like it's a loss. Let's be really hard on ourselves, and let's talk about the things we didn't do well. We're going to do more of what you all do. We're going to talk about all the bad things instead of the good things, Chip. That'll make it more fun for us, see, to sit there and do that. So,
You still need to go down that path, man. Come on.
that was humor. You missed it, but it was humor.
That was the first time.
Yeah, but very honestly, that's what we've got to do. We're good, and I'm proud of them. We're better than we've been since we've been here. Now, can we take that next step? And we've got challenges throughout here to figure out whether we can do that or not. We're not talking about the end. We're not talking about anything else but getting better this week and playing to a standard, and that standard needs to be better than it was last week. And really and truly, Miami's going to play good. They're going to be excited, so we can't worry about them. We got to worry about us.
As much
In
as
your
you want.
experience, I was going to say, facing a team coming off a crushing loss like that, kind of unpredictable about what kind of team you'll see. Or
It is, but these guys have got a lot of pride. They've played us good every year. It's been a fight. I don't think it'll make any difference. They'll, if anything, they'll come in with that chip on their shoulder because they weren't happy with the way the game finished. So that's what I would think. Coaches will be on edge, and players will be on edge, and everybody will be ready to go. So go back and get back on track.
As much as you would want more touchdowns in the red zone, in hindsight, Noah got 4 field goals. The way he finished last year, lost some confidence, didn't win the job initially this year. How helpful is it that he is on track now, appears to have confidence, because you might need him down the road to kick a big field goal for you?
Yes, it is great that he made them all. I'm still really upset that we're 2 for 7 in the red zone. I'd rather him work on those in practice.
But the
We need
confidence
to work
factor.
on, but the confidence is great. I'm glad for him. I lost some confidence in our red zone offense, so we need to get it back so he doesn't have to kick.
Mack, you talk about coaching as if you lost. It seems like as the season's gone, those negatives are shrinking a little bit. Offense, red zone, those type things. But on defense, aside from the one drive for Syracuse, what were those negatives that you'll coach them hard on coming out of this one?
Well, that's why Gene comes down in a minute, Tommy. I don't want to take all his fire and let he and Chip talk to you about the individual things, but we got to play the ball better. There were some times where we had a chance to blow up a slant at safety, and we didn't. We missed the tackle even, and they made some yards. We didn't play the ball well on the 3rd and 14. That shouldn't have happened. It was a high throw, and it should have been an interception. In fact, we didn't get the quarterback on 2 zone reads where we weren't square and we weren't playing it properly, and the quarterback made yards and made plays. So I think those were probably the biggest things. We kept him in the pocket most of the day. He didn't make scramble yards. There was a ball on the ground when Sid strips it out of his hands and we didn't get it, and we were right there, which would have been a midfield turnover. We're tackling better in space. I do think the fact that we're playing too deep everywhere, the bench is your best friend as a coach. They know that when they're out there, they better play good. If you don't play good, we're going to take you out because we've got somebody else who can play. And it's very simple. We're going to take you out fast. Offensively, we had too many penalties that really hurt us in the red zone. The penalty on Murray Gaynor was really not a penalty. He is such a high motor guy. He was running to the ball, and there was somebody in his way, and he kind of pushed him out of the way to get to the ball, so he didn't hit him, he didn't knock him down. I'm sure the official turned and saw somebody flying, but it was just Amari chasing the ball. So it's hard to get on him for that. That's why when we saw it during the game, Gene took him out. I said, I don't know. I think he's just hustling. Man, he's doing what we want him to do. And the interception by Huzzy again, he's just got unbelievable instincts and hands. And we saw that when he came this spring, but it's just been, he just, if he's around the ball, he's going to catch it.
Mack, I know, oh, you follow me?
Let me just follow. Do you feel like now is the best you've been to be able to implement that the bench is a great motivator? Like in years past, maybe the bench didn't provide enough talent to motivate somebody to play well.
Yes, Tommy, it was either not enough talent or experienced talent. Because a lot of times they would see if a guy doesn't practice hard and practice, it's hard to put him in the games ahead of somebody else, and it's hard for them to feel like they need to come out. Now, I go back to our first year, we had a defensive lineman play 97 plays. And then how could he play good the next week? He's got to be exhausted. And you don't think about that when you don't have anybody else. As we said, he's looking over to the bench and doing this, and we're looking the other way because we don't have anybody to put in. So it's, we're good. We're good, and now we can rotate those guys. And when you take a position like Des Evans, Bo Atkinson, and Jacoby Cowan, those guys can play interchangeably and all be good. And that really helps us. Tamari Fox being back really helps us. And we don't have tired players on the field.
Who was that defensive lineman that played 97?
I'm sorry?
Who was the defensive lineman?
Aaron Crawford. Played 97 snaps against Virginia Tech in 6 overtimes. Didn't come out. And I mean, I felt sorry for him. And
Did he play the next week?
He played the next week, and I'm sure if we go back and look at it, he probably didn't play great, but good for him, but not good for us.
Right.
I think it was 80 snaps the next week, I think, too.
Was it 80
Something
snaps the
like
next
that.
week?
Yeah.
I know, and he's 320 pounds.
Aaron was a grinder.
I know we can get into the details of it with Chip, but on the offensive line, that was your 4th different starting lineup in 5 games this year, which I know is due to injury and other things like that, but do you think now with Willie back and just the different moves that you've made there, you've moved some guys all over the place, do you think that group you had out there Saturday is your group now sort of going forward? Do you think that's your best 5?
You know, Adam, it's a good question. I'm trying to fight them to get more guys playing. Randy likes to get his 5, and if they're in the game, they're doing well. Like we thought we played Ed too much Saturday. Ed's not a guy who can play 97 plays.
Okay.
And whatever, 90, whatever it was, we played a lot of other guys. We got the white team in there, so that was really, really good to get a lot of guys in the game to play some. Amari Campbell made 2 plays. He made a play on the quarterback, and he made an interception. And the play on the quarterback was when the game was really important and changing. So I think we talked about it in the staff meeting this morning. You want to be fresh. You'd like to keep guys with continuity. And Diego Pounds has really done an amazing job for us. He's really come on, and we're proud of him, and that helped him. We wouldn't have, if we hadn't put Diego in a game,
Right.
he still wouldn't be playing. We wouldn't trust him. And we've got to get Travion Green in the game more for the same reason. I think he'll do what Diego's done when we get him in the game. R.J. Grigsby is going to start practicing tomorrow, so we've got him back. So that really helps us, because I thought he would be in that rotation before he got hurt. But it's a good question. It's the one position right now that we're not substituting very much, and we need to start looking at next year. I mean, you've got to have somebody coming so you don't have to go to the portal.
Right.
So that's one we've still got to figure out.
Matt, to go off of that, along those same lines, obviously Mack comes back in there, but William Barnes has been someone that had been starting, didn't play a ton on Saturday. Is that just a product of the line being a little too crowded? Like, what was kind of the dynamic that played out there?
It's Jeremiah, it's something that all coaches are a little bit different. People are different. All the dynamics are a little different. And when things are going good, Coach Clements likes it to go good. And it's nearly like he feels superstitious to take one out if it's not working at the time.
Aren't all O-line coaches like that, though?
I think they are.
Don't they like to just get 5 and just roll with it?
They do, and Big Nell said 7 because that was his pro background. He wanted to do it. Stacy wanted 5. And they trust is hard there, because this was a game where they were going to blitz or move every play. Nobody just sat there. They didn't line up in the same front ever. And if they didn't bring the linebackers, they were going to look like they brought them, play some games up front with the defensive lineman, and then drop the linebackers out. So it could have been very confusing. And when they see it's working and somebody's comfortable with it, they just don't want to change it. And Willie being back really helped us. But William will get back out there and play more this week. I think it was just things were going well. And when they're going well, it is that superstitious about feel that a coach has about let's just leave it that way.
That speaks to the importance of the chemistry up front. So the coach, the O-line coach, sees that chemistry. I would imagine they're kind of paranoid about messing with that too.
Yeah, it really does. And Corey Gaynor's so important to us because he's the boss, and he's tough, and he brings a lot of energy, and he's been one of the Sid Gray type leaders for our offense. And he's one of the ones, when I walk down there, he's telling them what I would want to go tell them. And that's just happening time and time again with this team. And that's what I like so much. I listened to the interviews Saturday night that you all had with the kids, and Sid Gray, he's not even the same person he was when he got here. It's so much fun to listen to him with his confidence, and he answers your questions right, and he knows what he's talking about. And that's just so fun for me to see that with him. And then to see Tez, I sat there and cried. What a dream for that kid. I mean, I'll get emotional talking about it here, but he has 12 people on his family on the field after the game taking pictures. That was a life's dream for that kid. And I can't imagine sitting there Thursday. We don't know how we're going to play him because we weren't ready for a yes. And when we got a yes, we had to think about, got to tell him, got to tell his family, got to tell our team, got to tell our coaches, and they were all in meetings. And then poor Lonnie and I are saying, now what do we do with him? He hadn't practiced in 3 weeks. He's been on the scout team for 3 straight weeks, and he didn't know the game plan. So Lonnie literally runs down to the meeting room with him, gets on the board and starts saying, here's what we're doing. And then we decided that it wasn't fair to a 4-0 team with kids who had been practicing every day and doing well to just say, put him out there as a starter, even though he was a starter before he couldn't play. So then I did say to Lonnie, I think we'd been out there 14 plays or something, and I said, Lonnie, Tez is eligible. And he played 56 plays. So he played a lot. And he messed a few things up because he wasn't practicing. But this week we'll go back and get him in the rotation and be able to put him out there. But I've never been prouder of a kid. We had him carry the flag out because we thought the whole state rallied behind him. And we thought that was important for him to be able to say thank you. And that was his way to say thank you. And he doesn't talk much, which you saw in the interviews. And he's very humble. But then to play, he wasn't angry he didn't go in first. He wasn't angry he didn't start. He just wants to win. And that was really a cool moment.
56 snaps, 6 receptions when he basically had a Friday walkthrough.
Yeah.
To get ready.
He hadn't practiced any.
Is that kind of tantalizing about what might be to come now that he's going to be in the regular
Yeah,
season?
we think he's really good. The thing that I thought we did last year, some at the end, is we started throwing too much to just Josh. And one of Drake's gifts is to be able to share the ball. He can see the whole field and he can move it around, even with the deep ball to Nate McCullum. Tez was open, and he said, I felt it. So he saw both of them. He knew Tez was open, but he was into, I had an easier throw for me to Nate. And Drake's had so many guys get caught at the 1 yard line. Whether it was Kamari or Nate, those are touchdown passes that he's had a lot of them this year. But that's why it'll be great. I thought there was a presence on the field for Syracuse because Tez was out there. And they were aware of him and kept a safety over the top of him a lot of the time, which left Nate wide open. So I really felt like that he had more of a presence on Saturday than you would think for a guy that's never played in the game.
That play, I think Drake said that was the Tez effect on that play.
Yeah.
That's why Nate was open.
There's no question. And we had a crossing route to Tez open for a touchdown, and Drake got hit right as he was throwing it, or we'd had a touchdown to him on a crossing route.
Was this the most depth you've played against a quality opponent? And if so, when some of those guys get a chance to get meaningful reps in a game, do you see them practice differently the next week?
Yes and yes. I probably played the same number at Pittsburgh on defense because we're starting to try to do that. And we had some guys with some soft tissue injuries in the secondary early, and now that they're well, we're doing it. We're starting to get Amari Campbell in the game more when it matters, and we need him because Ed's going to be gone, and we need Sebastian Sheets to play some more. But absolutely, the defense is at a point where they have total confidence in 2 deep or 3 deep. They just, I look out and somebody said, boy, Don Chapman's playing a lot better. And I said, no, he doesn't have any choice. He knows he's got to play. You got to make plays, or they're going to say, hey, stick, get in the game, man. So that's really helping us. And the same with the front. Nobody's tired. And everybody wants to, we said you don't know how many plays you're going to have, so you better take advantage of the time you're in there to make plays if you want to stay in there. Offensively, Lonnie Galloway's got a great group of receivers. And that was supposed to be a question mark. Well, Nate and Tez haven't even played at times, and we still are good. So that helps us. The tight ends are good. I thought Bryson Nesbitt had by far his best game. He's a mismatch, and he's hard to handle in space. And the other 2 guys are really good. And they play, Freddie does an amazing job. I look up every week, and they play about 25 plays each. It's amazing how they do it. So, and I've asked the coaches to keep count and try to have a feel of who's in the game. And I hate it when a coach comes out and says, yeah, I forgot to put him in. Well, you promised a kid he's going to play, and you forget to put him in. That doesn't sound very good. But yes, that helps us. And offensive line's the question mark. Running backs, we've got, when we put Elijah Green in, I thought he was going to score, and Caleb Hood looked really good when he got in, so we're deep at running back. So the offensive line's just a group that we've got to get balanced.
How important was it to get Tez in there for this start against Syracuse before going up against a top team like Miami, so that you can get, it's always going to mean a lot to have his family there, but the first one is, as you said, a dream come true. And now it's kind of out of the way.
We thought Syracuse was really good. They were undefeated. They played Clemson so hard, and they just had 3 turnovers for the 21 points. So that's one of the things we're trying not to do, is say, this team's good, this team's not as good. Let's play good this week. We don't have to play good this week. That's who we've been, and we're trying to get away from that. But the fact that he's gotten some plays now means that the pressure of what's going to happen when I walk out there the first time, all our eyes are on me. Somebody said, how many plays is it going to take before he scores? And I thought, what an awful situation for that poor kid. He never played. He hadn't been in a game. So now we're through with the Tez talk. We're through with should he been eligible, should he, all that's gone. It's time to play. So he is now a player on this football team like all the rest of them, and it'll be great moving forward.
Mack, you guys have run the ball well before this year in terms of Javonte and Michael Carter, and I don't want to imply that a team that had Javonte Williams didn't run the ball physically with him as a runner. But it does feel like the way you guys run the ball, there's a little bit more of a, I don't know, harder edge to it, a little bit more physicality to it. How much of a difference do you feel in that regard? It's not just output, but in the way you guys are producing on the ground.
Aaron, I really like what we're doing right now offensively. We've got, when we do what we're supposed to do within the scheme, we're having fewer sacks and less pressure on the quarterback. Drake said it in his interview Saturday, but he's some of the drills that Clyde have brought to Chip, the Tom Brady presence in the pocket. I watch him every day with Drake just stepping around the ball. They're throwing a ball at him and keeping his eyes downfield, and I can see that. He's much better now at finding the soft spots instead of drifting maybe into the sack, and part of it being Drake's fault. But the presence of Freddie Kitchens in the running game, because he's tough as nails, and he's coached tight ends and running backs in the NFL, much less first-round draft choices at quarterback. And he's sitting next to Chip. They grew up together, so they're friends, so they have great conversations. The fact that Chip was a great friend of Randy Clements, and they believed in the same stuff as they were growing up together and always wanted to coach together. And then the fact that Chip had the same passing game, so we haven't dropped off in the passing game, but we've been able to use a more downhill power running attack, and you've got big backs. It does make a difference. We talked about last week that we can't afford to have 2-yard gains. We've got 220-pound backs. If we don't block anybody and everybody's moving the pocket, we should get 4 yards. 5 yards. So come on, man. Let's get those yards, and instead of we can't handle second and 9s and second and 11s, and we're not doing that near as much as we have the last couple of years, and that makes me feel really good.
Matt, you have a chance.
And Charlie, one other thing, Aaron, that I think is important now is that's also like the play that we faked the power running game a couple of times, but specifically on the one that we hit Nate McCullum to the 1-yard line. That was totally developed by the running game, being physical, having maximum protection, Drake sitting back there longer, safety being affected by the running game so he can come down and throw it over the top instead of just drop back.
You have a tremendous opportunity to be on ABC on Saturday night, 7:30, and a home game on top of that. Just talk about what an opportunity for the nation to see what Carolina football
Yeah,
is.
Charlie, I'm having so much fun. And when you start thinking about what it does to this community, I mentioned that before, but number one, if you're a business person in this community, and I remember when we were here before, when we were losing all the game, business people were emailing me and saying, come on, man, you're killing our business. Nobody's showing up for the games. I thought, well, it's not helping my business either. We're not doing very good, but to pull into the stadium and have it full, and the bell tower walk now that we were through with COVID, and so many fans up there high-fiving these kids. And I've told the kids, take your headsets off and take your ear pods out so you can appreciate the fans, because I told them before the game, I've been watching games all day, and there's half-full stadiums out there, man. Don't take for granted that you're selling out. And don't take for granted that this many people are taking their time, their effort, their money to come. But it does affect your community. It does affect our university. We have to make money for all the other sports. And when we're filling them up, that's making a lot of money. The fact that you've got a primetime TV game on ABC, what type of publicity does that do for recruiting for Chapel Hill, for the University of North Carolina? You can't buy that type of publicity. So it's just a win-win. And I remember, and I expect it to be the same way Saturday night. I remember our first game here back at home was Miami, and that was one of the best crowds I've ever seen. That was a magical night. It came down to a throw in the corner at the end to Daz Newsome for a touchdown. But what a game! We overcame a 4th and 17 to have a chance to win the game. But that crowd was unbelievable. I'll never remember, and I love Patrice Rene, and we hadn't had very good crowds the year before because we'd won 2 games. And Patrice was walking out to come into the stadium for the game, and he looked at me like, "Oh my God." Oh my God. And I said, "Yeah, this is what it's supposed to be like." So that's the way I expect it to be on Saturday night.
Mack, along those lines.
Have you ever had a team lose the game the way in a similar fashion the way Miami did? And if so, how did you win your team back if that happened in practice the next week?
You know, I haven't, but I've seen it. And the thing you don't know is unless you're on that sideline at that moment, you don't know what happened. I've been in some of those, and they're not going to say what happened because you don't want to talk about somebody else's business, but a lot of stuff going on sidelines. It's crazy. The fact that Notre Dame had 10 on the field. I've had 10 on the field, and somebody got hurt, or some young one came out, or 2 went in, or one that was hurt came out, and the doctor told him he was able to go back in. He went back in on his own, so you had 12 on the field. He didn't tell the other one to come out. I mean, it's just mind-boggling what can happen with that many people on the sideline, their kids and coaches fighting for their lives and their jobs and fighting to win. But kids will respond. They'll pull together. And usually when there's more criticism, they pull together harder, and Miami will come in here being well coached and excited about playing the game.
Mack, along those lines, I did think about you Saturday night when that thing got nuts. Like, I mean, did you, obviously there's a situation where they didn't take it, but then Georgia Tech scores in 2 plays. Did you fall out of the recliner when you saw it? I mean, I know you had to be watching it. You said you were going to. Like, what was your reaction when it happened?
Well, first I sit on a couch. I don't have I guess retired old people of recliners. I don't know.
Picture you in like the easy chair there.
No, I got my little couch there that I get to sit. It's really interesting question because you're sitting there saying, do I want them to win or lose? What's best for us? And I don't know, and it really doesn't matter. Because if they won, they were going to come play hard, and if they lost, they were going to come play hard. What I thought is, Georgia Tech's pretty good. So that's something we can use in 4 weeks. Because everybody sits there, and the other thing, it's the mind games of sports and life. But you're sitting there looking at it, nobody thought Georgia Tech could win. About the time you think something can't happen is when it does. I thought that was us against Georgia Tech last year. So give Brent Key credit, give Georgia Tech credit. Quarterback's better. They're running the ball good. They got a great young wide receiver. Quarterback made plays to win the game at the end. So that's what I got out of it, is that we've won 2 of the last 12 in Atlanta, and they got a good team. So that's what hit me, because Miami's going to play the same way either way. They were going to come here and play hard regardless. The only thing, they would have been rated 15th instead of 25th, and that might have been a little more hype. But other than that's not going to change the outcome of this game.
You talked about the 1997 team a little bit earlier. I think you said you even mentioned it to the players. What were some of the traits that team had, and are there any of those traits that kind of you see on this current team?
Yeah, the biggest trait is they were the #1 defense in the country, and they were giving up 9 points a game for the year and 210 yards. So they were killing it, and all of them got drafted except one, too deep. So, I mean, they were a dominant defensive team. We're making progress. We don't need to be in that conversation yet. But that was the difference. And we could run the ball. Chris Keldorf had a really good arm, and he was accurate. And the only game we lost was Florida State because we couldn't block. And I think Chris got hit maybe 9 times or hit 12 times and sack 7 or something. So we just couldn't. But the defense hung in there. It was 20-3 because we couldn't move the ball.
Well, those type games, the Miami, Georgia Tech, Baylor, UCF, even the Red River Saturday, are those type games gifts for you as a coach to be able to give to your players and say, look?
Tommy, absolutely. I'm showing I thought probably and I watch all this stuff after I get home because I can't sleep and I'm hyped and I stay up all night. And then I watched last night, instead of watching Pro Bowl, I watch all the 50 plays of the teams that were out there. One of the huge differences in the Texas OU game was their 1st and goal from the 1 and don't score. And there's 4 plays that they tried. Got my Austin lady over here. And I didn't get to see the game, obviously, so I go back and see what happened in the game. And with 1:24 left, they drive right down and score with 15 seconds left. So 1 minute offense, don't ever give up. You've got a chance. 1 minute defense, you got to get them off the field, man. That's when the game's won and lost. But I'm going to show the 4 plays, and I'm going to show the defense that just because they got the ball 1st and goal at the 1 doesn't mean they're going to score.
Mack,
So don't give up.
Mack, you talked a few weeks ago about the difficulties of dealing with success. Are you concerned about that being a mental roadblock for this team at all?
I'm really not, because they're older, they're more mature. We've been there, done that. We can go back and say we were 9-1. So we're 5-0 is nothing. So don't start feeling good about yourself. And the fact that 3 weeks ago there were 21 undefeated teams and now they're 11. So either they played somebody better than them or they weren't ready to play. And we're coaching them like you're supposed to, like we always say we do, but we're actually doing it now and they're listening, is that this is a 1-game season. This is the only game that matters. If you don't win this one, you can't get where you want to go. And we're talking a lot about, and I mentioned it in the staff meeting this morning, this team's still got a story to tell. And the story will be for the rest of their life. And I was sitting there with Dusty Dvorak, who did our game, and he played against us when he was at OU and I was at Texas, and he said, we were 2-1 against you. And that matters. So I told the players, the people are going to ask you, what was your record against Miami? They're not going to ask you how much you played. But they are going to ask you, what's your record against Duke? What's your record against State? And it matters. And it matters when you're 40. And it matters when you're 60. So you still are building your story. And they don't want to hear you were 5-0 and ended up 5-7. That doesn't hold any weight. And the second part of that is tell your story, but tell it without excuses and without regrets. I've got regrets last year that we were 9-1 and didn't finish well. I do, and I can't get those back. Regrets and excuses are losses for the rest of your life, and you can't get them back. So we can do something about it tomorrow. We can't do something about it Sunday. So don't wait till Sunday. You fix it today and make sure that you continue to fix it.
Mack, aside from the
That's one with Michael here.
aside from the weird ending, what else about Miami from the Georgia Tech game stood out to you? It seems like all everyone's talking about is the ending, but what else from that game?
Yeah, they're so talented on defense. Their front's active, their linebackers are good, their 2 corners are great. They've given up very few throws all year. The 2 safeties are unbelievable. The nickel played corner 2 years ago, so he's a lot like Huzzy. So they're just so talented. Offensively, we saw what the quarterback did to us here 2 years ago. He ripped us. And he did the same thing last year. Their receivers are big and tall and can run. Their offensive line's huge. And they're running the ball better. They've got 2 really good backs, and they are consciously running the ball and therefore protecting better. They just absolutely stomped Texas A&M. So I'll be watching that game more than Georgia Tech. That's who we'll see. We won't see the team that played Saturday night, and that's what you learn. You got to figure out who you're going to play.
All right. Thanks, Coach.